I created the loop again myself.
It's all good. Oh man, I'm watching. Hey, Walker B Ranch watch. Thank you for watching Walker B Ranch.
Like just seen a second ago, we had three viewers now. Okay, there they are back.
They're back. They must be on your channel. Four watching. What's
Four
up,
on
guys? It is Sunday night, and we were bored. We were talking bees on the side. We're like, you know what? We could just do this with our buddies in the chat. We were talking bottling, bottles, swarms. Somebody had swarms today, and I'll give you a clue. It wasn't me.
I don't know who it was. Yeah, I went to two of my other yards today. I've been working 7/12s and finally got off of all that, and finally got a chance to get out to the yards. They wouldn't look too good for me.
James Noel from Michigan. I used to work at Michigan State University in Lansing, East Lansing, actually, but I lived in Holt, right outside of there. But I'm back in South Carolina now. Thanks for watching. The way we normally do this, guys, if you're just coming in or your first time, we actually invite you to come sit and join us in the chat. You are welcome to come. I'm posting a link, and you can come right in and join us if you want to.
Hey there, Greg.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, Greg?
Oh man, we love your channel. We love what you do, Greg. We appreciate you. We had Dirt Rooster on last night, guys. Dirt Rooster stopped in and hung out with us. Greg, come on in for a few minutes, man. We're not going to be on too long tonight. Maybe max an hour. Well, that's what we always say, but about an hour probably tonight.
I think we said that the first time. It ended up 5.5 hours.
Yeah, you know, we can't do that tonight because
4 o'clock.
Lee's got to go to work in the morning early. Busy icing knee. Oh, what'd you do to your knee, Wayne?
Oh, that ain't no good.
Yeah, that's no good. I need to do something to my elbow.
Now, was that a fall or did a bee get after you?
That's the
Actually, I think if you look, well, I'm still working on. I recorded 2 videos today. My first video, I'm still editing. I had a hole in the knee of my blue jeans, and I did get a bee in it. And I was telling the camera, I'm gonna have to step back for a second and do a little work because they're trying to move up the leg. If y'all hear me holler, you know what happened.
Did you get the nut stung?
Nah, it didn't make it that high. I finally got it out of there.
Instead of D's nuts, it was B's nuts.
Yeah, they were trying to.
I've had it happen real close, real close.
You see Craig comment here?
The meniscus. I hate to hear that, Wayne. I hope you feel better soon, buddy. You know what? I did put photos on YouTube. Where did I put? Let me come to my Facebook. Guys, I got to update somewhere. What did I do with that? I sent it to my nephew. So I wanted to show you guys the progress on the honey house. So let me share this real quick.
Hey there.
Can't hang out. Boss won't let me. Yo, you want to see how the construction's coming? Let me show you, brother.
Yeah, my boss just left a few minutes ago. She had to go to one of the kids' house.
All right, so is it Sharon? Can you hit that link and add it in for me, Lee?
The share that you're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it pop up on the other screen yet, but yep. So I got it all the way wrapped. And let me see if I can go back one. Back, that's the back of it. A lot of junk. I actually burned a lot of stuff today, cleaning up afterwards. But yep, got it all the way wrapped. Got 2 new doors on it. I need to run trim along the top, and I cut those 2 big ass bushes down today. Need to run some trim and paint it, but it locks up. Everything's good to go. And that's going to be my new honey extracting room.
It's looking good.
And I'm proud of it. Really, what did we figure out, Lee? I've been talking to you the whole time. Probably I could have. This is basically 2 days worth of work. So, I mean, the first day I hung two sides. The next day I hung a door, and then today I finished the last side in a door. So it's been a lot of work, but especially when you're trying to hold that 4x8 sheet panel up there and lean on it and make sure it's square and flush and nail it in.
How to do it? Put you a string line across the bottom and put your 2 nails, and you can set your board on those nails. They'll hold it straight for you.
Well, that'd have been nice if you'd have told me that 3 days ago. Why don't you wait till I'm done with the job to tell me some super tricks?
Next time.
I ain't doing that again.
Oh, well, you're going to get that 20x40 pole barn to put everything in next time when you go bigger.
Oh, well, yeah, my buddy actually came over today. He says, I've got land. You can come bring out the highs. We just need to clear out some of those scrub oaks in there so you can have some spot to put them on. So if you trim the bottom with 1x2, then caulk the top and the bottom to stop moisture from crawling back up the brick. Oh, thanks, Craig. Appreciate that. Thanks, Wayne. I hope you feel better, buddy.
Yeah, have a good one, Wayne.
Yeah, so I'm going to do 1x2s on the sides for sure. And so you're saying put them at the bottom as well?
Yeah, it looks like put a little caulk up under it and then put your trim to it. That'll keep any moisture off the brick.
Problem, I mean, it does hang down. Like, it's probably a 1/4 inch over the 2x4 overlap over the brick. So it's not like flush with the brick. There is a little bit of an overlap right there. So I have to check it out. And
if you put some caulk or silicone something in it, it'll still help you in wintertime getting any draft in there.
Well, the draft and stuff we get out. Now, here's what'll happen. Hurricane season will come blow the whole damn thing away. Or tree will fall straight through it.
I was lucky. We got a hurricane here last year in August, and all my hives made it. Now, I had cinder blocks on top of all 3 yards, but no damage.
The material I'm using will act like a sponge? Really? At $43 a sheet? I hope not.
Yeah, whenever I bought that stuff before, I primed the back of it real good and then primed the front too.
Well, the front was pre-primed. It's like a composite on the front.
Now, I still put another coat of prime and then my finished paint on it.
All right. Well, I'll definitely try to do something. Luckily, I mean, there's about I'm going to say an 18 to 24 inch overhang. The eave is about 18 to 24 inches. I mean, it sticks out pretty far. So it's not like directly in the weather. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We got Spanky.
Oh, I didn't even see him down there.
Spank,
hey,
what's up?
Hey, what's up?
Nightly visitor.
Hopefully you ain't been waiting too long. I didn't happen to look down there and see you.
We was running our mouths.
I figured you might be going live.
Well, it was at your suggestion. We were actually just hanging out, talking on the phone, and then we're like, you know what? We could actually share screens if we were in the back room, and then we're sitting there talking. I'm like, well, we can just go live if we want to for a little while.
Yeah, we went in the back room of StreamYard and was showing each other stuff on the screen and said, heck, let's just click that little button up there in the corner. Let everybody else see.
Everybody might be missed out on the Dirt Rooster last night. that stopped in. That was fun. I had fun. He's got a very good sense of humor.
Yeah.
You can just tell that from his video. And what I gathered, Dirt Rooster was just like I imagined he would be, you know?
Yeah, he seems real laid back, easy to get along with.
Oh, okay. So the bottom of the board. Yeah, one of my friends recommended making sure I painted that bottom edge too. So I'll definitely make sure I get that squared away. But you know what? That's 360 square feet. I think that's what it comes out to. It's 20 by 18. With 2 doors, it was right at $1,200 worth of materials to wrap the porch. So, you know, I like to spend money where money's needed. So, I mean, I'm not incapable of doing some things, you know. So
it's going to benefit you in the long run, and it's going to benefit you in the long run, and you're going to make that money back.
Yeah,
so it's well worth it.
And I do have an electrician coming tomorrow. That's a buddy of mine that's going to give me a price to basically run to the breaker box and just for the porch, so I can run outlets and switches in there. And you know, we'll see what happens. So if not, I mean, I know I can do it. I've actually wired a fuse, you know, wired it in, but he's a licensed electrician, right? So if anybody ever shows up later, is like, well, did you have a licensed electrician do this? I can honestly say, yeah, I did. Or, you know.
Well, like how we are here, whenever I rebuilt my last place, I ripped everything out, wires, everything. I run all new electrical, telephone, internet, cable, and I wired everything myself. But through our permit office, a certified electrician has to come out to inspect it was done correctly. I passed.
All right, Houston, man, we appreciate you swinging in. Tell your lady happy birthday.
Yep, happy birthday.
And we'll see you on the next go around. We're just hanging out. We were talking about bottles and prices. And they're insane. The prices are not the prices of the bottles are not expensive if you're buying them in bulk, right? The per bottle price is pretty cheap. But when you're paying the same amount as the bottles for the shipping on the bottles, then it's no longer a good deal anymore. Right? So did you show us the bottle? You never showed us that bottle. Do you have a bottle handy that you bought?
$117 for shipping.
And the bottles were $97.
My Lord.
So, I mean, but the thing is with the bottles, he bought 1,700 caps. So it's the caps and the bottles.
It's the same bottle that I get from Better Bee with the same lids.
1 pound skep jar.
But I think I figured out the reason the shipping was so much. I ordered it late Wednesday afternoon, so that means they didn't ship it out until Thursday. It was at my house on Friday early.
And you got it on Friday.
So
they overnighted it.
Overnight next day, so that's why it cost so much. Hey, Brian.
Sawmill Charlie. And his popcorn.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on?
I got the pistachios tonight.
Oh, man. I got a hurt elbow. That's what I got.
Yeah, nothing much. It's 32 degrees here in Maryland.
We kissed 30 something last night.
All right.
And but then it warmed right back up, and we're at 59 right now.
44 here.
But,
it's 69 right now.
Hey, Brian, how's it going, buddy?
We hit 82 today. So
yeah, we're contemplating the meaning of bottling. I mean, the price on bottles. We were talking about the Lyson automatic filler. Couple things. I mean, really, it's not honey time yet, right? But you should, if you're going to be looking at honey extracting equipment, you got to get it before you need it.
Yep.
So
while it's still in stock.
Hey, Craig's in Pittsburgh. How far is Pittsburgh from you?
From me,
Yeah,
it's about 5 hours.
5 hours.
Yeah, it's about, I guess you would call it northwest of me.
Well, so when you go to pick your bottles up from Gamber, that's in Lancaster, right?
Yeah, it's about all of an hour, maybe. I can be across the Pennsylvania line in about 20 minutes.
That ain't bad.
I am real close to Pennsylvania.
I was looking at oh, you know what? Speaking of, you know how we were talking about subscribers and everything yesterday? I need 1 subscriber to hit 1,600. I'm at 1,599. So let's see who's the lucky 1 extra person. Maybe we get tonight. We were just talking about how Lee paid $114 for shipping for his caps and bottles. And he said, well, he ordered them on Wednesday. They wouldn't have shipped them out till Thursday, and he got them on Friday. So they must have overnighted them, UPS.
Yeah. I think next time when I do make an order, I'm going to ask them, hey, you got regular slow shipping with UPS? Because, I mean, I still got bottles left. I didn't need them that fast.
But, yeah, so, I mean, it was a little bit more expensive. So I'm contemplating. I want to order from them. I'm not as far as Lee is from them. So I'm probably going to give him a call tomorrow. I'm going to call a few places because there's a few people that have got good prices, but you know, some people do free shipping. Some people don't do free shipping. So, gonna give him a call tomorrow. There's Spanky's back. His internet hiccuped on him.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Hey, there's Ricky.
He must not be too far from Cayman then. Their internet keeps cutting out.
Right? Cayman blinked out in the middle of his last night.
Yeah, Ricky, that UPS wouldn't slow this week. Like I said, I ordered it Wednesday afternoon late. So it had been Thursday before it shipped out, and it was here early Friday.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's good customer service that they were on top of it. You just didn't need it that fast.
At least you know if you do need something in a rush, they can get it to you. But next time I'm going to ask them if they got something slower because I don't want to pay $117 shipping every single time.
Right. Well, it really runs the price of the bottles right back up to where. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's still cheaper. We did the math on it. Right. If you don't calculate the freight in.
Well, without the freight, I mean, it averaged out to about what we say 38 cents a bottle. That's with the cap. So if you factor in shipping and everything, yeah, it might be running 80 cents a piece.
But still, I mean, it's all right. But you won't have to buy caps every time. So that's going to drive the price down over the long run. About every 5 or 6 times, I would have to buy new caps. Yeah, I've checked Amazon, and Amazon, a couple things. Like I bought these glass skeps here. They ended up being $1 something a piece. And they would only sell me 3 cases at a time. So I could only get 36 of them. And so, I mean, if you're a smaller amount, that's fine. And then I bought these from Amazon. They came in bags of 24 with the lids, but they're out of stock on these. So
I found some of those today. I had
some of those
yeah, the skeps.
Right.
I forgot we ordered them. I'm pretty certain they're plastic. I just checked the price. We ordered them in, I think, 2020. And
right.
From then to now, they went from $14.66 to over $20, $20.25.
So at what point does it go to being a better deal just to go down to Walmart and buy mason jars?
And then
They're not
You
as
have to
nice.
buy less then, because if you're doing a pint mason jar, you're looking about 1.5 pounds of honey in it. It's a 16-ounce jar, but it's holding 24 ounces net weight of honey.
Yeah, I guess if you're gonna charge them by the weight, then it's gonna be $15, right? If you're
Yeah.
doing a $10 thing.
Yeah, if it's at a $10 pound.
I
So-
saw some new Craigslist ads earlier for honey and bees. $15 a pint on buckwheat and wildflower, and $16 a pint from Florida, the orange crop down there.
Oh, the orange blossom honey.
Yeah,
How much was it?
$16 a pint.
That's that's a little bit more. That's a little bit more than $10 a pound.
Yeah, just barely over.
I've never
They
tried
claimed
that.
it
I've never
was
tried
rare.
to message an Amazon seller to see if they'll sell them to me outside of
I hadn't either.
Amazon.
Hey, Ricky, I don't know if you got that message I sent you earlier about that video I posted today. I put the link to your website in there. Try to get you a little business, brother.
Hey Lee, how about tell everybody what happened to you at the bee yard today? What you found out when you went to your other bee yard?
I might have to put the paper bag over my head before I tell that story.
The unknown beekeeper just
Yeah.
coming
Incognito.
to just cut the eye holes out of the paper bag.
I've been working 7/12 for a couple of weeks there and longer hours, and hadn't had a chance to make it to my bee yards until today. And it wasn't a very pretty sight. Had several hives that have done swarmed out on me. Very few bees left in them. Enough. I mean, they making another queen, but it's going to take a little time for them to build back up in population. It just wasn't nice, and that was in all 3 of my yards, which I posted one video in my number 1 the other day, but the other 2 yards were the same way. Now I did have one hive. It was real strong population, a deep and a medium. They didn't have swarm cells yet, but they were getting close. So I went ahead and done a split on them today.
So, how many colonies do you have in your horizontal hive now?
Just the 2 splits that I took out of my number 1 the other day.
Okay, so you got 2 of your queen castles set up right now.
Yeah, I put them in. Well, they're split to the 5-frame nukes, but I put 4 in one and 3 in another, and then put the follower board over.
I got you.
And I did take my paint markers out there today. I think I got a green square on one of the doors, and I think it's a blue triangle on another. Hopefully that way, whenever they do their orientation flight, they'll know where to come back to and not get confused with the doors.
I got you.
Different shapes, different colors.
So obviously, Charlie, beekeeping's at a standstill for you while the weather's cold. You're muted.
You're
I
muted.
think it's muted.
Muted.
Can I unmute him? No, I can't.
Yeah, if he muted it, you can't. But if you mute him, then you can unmute him.
Now I unmuted it.
There
Yeah.
you go.
He didn't want us to hear him munching on that popcorn. That's what it was. I'm a
I did-
popcorn fanatic
I
too.
did get in my eyes, not this Saturday, but a week ago on let's see, the 19th. And one hive is queenless, but it does have a queen cell in it. But I think it's a laying worker, because there's eggs in there, and I'm like, well, a lot of drone type stuff.
So until it warms up, you can't do anything with that colony.
Nope. I got in there, and there was a storm coming, a rainstorm. The wind was picking up, and I condensed it and put everything back in there real quick. And I did go over to the next hive next door to it, and it was well populated with eggs and brood in all stages. And so I know I got a queen in there. I'm at a standstill right now as far as doing anything with the bees.
So with the laying worker, assuming that it makes it until
I'm not sure whether that queen is even going to be viable or any good,
Right.
because I was on another chat with a bee club that I belong to in Pennsylvania, and one of the participants is a bee inspector for Pennsylvania. So I was telling him about it, and he brought up some pictures, and he says, if it's a true laying worker, he said that queen inside could be a drone. And he had some pictures there where they had opened up some capped queen cells, and they were actually drones.
Really?
Yeah, I never thought that they would have actually do that.
I wouldn't either.
But he had one there. It wasn't his pictures. It was some they found where one was in the sort of like the purple eye state, and it was white. And then there was another one there they took a picture of, and it was coming out. I believe it was a drone, so it'll be interesting to finally get out there and see what's going on. This week is supposed to be, really super cold.
Yeah.
So if let's say it makes it to warm days, how would you deal with that? You would just take it out and shake the bees out far away?
If it's a true laying worker, I always take them bees and shake them out. I've got some nukes, some resource hives, backup hives, and I'll repopulate that as soon as the weather breaks. Take that nuke and stick it in there and let them go to town.
That was one of the problems I found today. My double deep support nuke that I have. I think I may have a laying worker in it. I went through it. I mean, population was a lot lower than it was because they swarmed too. But when I was finding eggs, I was finding 2, 3, and 4 eggs in the same cell.
Right.
So I'm gonna have to go back
in the same cell. Yeah, that's definitely laying worker.
So I'm gonna have to go out there and
Or it
shake
could be
them
a
out.
new queen, right? Brand new queen when she comes back, she can lay multiple in one cell too when she first starts.
Sometimes you'll see it multiple in a cell, but usually, like I said, you won't find 4 eggs in one. You might find 2, maybe 3, but 4 that's probably laying worker. So I'm going to shake them out and put another frame of eggs and brood in there, and hope they'll make a new queen.
Hey, Thomas Henning.
Yeah, he said he'll jump on in a minute.
Okay.
Hey, Rich, good to see you.
I noticed that there's something you can buy and stick in a hive, and it makes the bees believe that there's a queen present.
Yeah,
that's
a queen pheromone.
Yeah, I've had that.
Well, I wonder what a laying worker. I wonder how a laying worker would react to that.
Once they get that in their head, you can just kiss it goodbye.
Yeah, you basically.
I had one guy come here last year before, going to buy a queen cell from me or a mated queen. I forget. I think it was a queen cell, and I questioned him before he bought, and it basically was a laying hive. I said, "You're wasting your money." I said, "I got somebody else who wants to buy this cell. Go home, shake them bees out in the yard someplace, start all over again." Because if you put a cell in there or you put a mated queen in there, they'll kill her because they believe that they've got the problem straightened out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's about the only option you have is just to shake them.
Well, the other thing is, and I don't know how true this is, you can probably verify this for me, Charlie, is like if you've got a queenless colony, if you continue to put brood in there, a lot of times they'll assume they do have a queen.
That's correct. That is called the Clemens method. That's how you can take, I've raised queens for the last 3 years that way. You take a nuke and you put cat brood in there with the bees, and it's a broodless or a queenless hive. Because of the pheromones that come out from underneath of those cappings, they believe that they are queen right, and they will not
take a new queen.
They won't. No,
they won't resort to a laying worker. Basically.
They won't resort to a laying worker. They will try to, if you put a batch of, let's say, a frame of eggs in there, they will draw queen cells.
Yeah.
And that's one thing with that method I found the hard way, as I'll say, is that you best be after. The way I do my queens is I graft that and I put that grafting frame into that hive, and it stays, well, it has been staying in there as a cell builder for 6 days. Now, this is the way I count my grafting numbers. Most people say that would be 6, 7. That would be day 9 officially. I don't care whether day 1, 2, and 3 is an egg. 1, 2, 3.5 actually is an egg, is what some of the charts say. Okay, why worry about that? You're going to go in, find a frame of eggs or larvae actually, where it's all you can see is, let's say, a drop of royal jelly in there. And if you can't see that larvae in that pool of jelly, then that's the right age.
Yeah. If you can see it already, it's too big.
If you can see it, it's too big. Even though it's minute and you can still see it, it's pretty much too big. And so, where was I going with this? Anyway, what I do is I graft when I find that, that's what I'm looking for on the day that I graft. And then I graft, I put that frame in there, and then that is day 1 for me. 6 days later, those cells are capped. Then I take that frame of capped cells very gingerly, don't shake them or anything like that.
Don't turn them over.
Don't turn them over. Just hold them in your hand. And I have at my incubator that I showed on my videos how I made out of that refrigerator. Now, it shows on my videos, I'm talking about the hot box, which is the bottom box of a refrigerator. Later on, I'll make another video. It's the same principle. Up in where the freezer compartment is, I've taken everything out of there, and except for the automatic ice maker thing. And I put a nuke box in there, and I hang that frame in there, and I keep it in there at 92 or 93 degrees, constant. It has a little fan in there, a little miniature fan that blows the air around. I keep a little plastic tray in there. I keep it filled up with water. It holds about 16 ounces of water, a Coke bottle worth. And you check out about every 3rd day or so. And that keeps the humidity just right. And you leave it in there for 5 days. And then you've got about a day and a half to get that cell into a 2-frame mating box. I use my homemade 2-frame mating boxes that Barnyard Bees shows.
Right.
That hold a full-size frame. And I put that cell in that little mating box that has bees and brood and food, and just stick it on the side of the frame, and day and a half later, she'll be hatched.
Yeah.
And then figure at least 2 weeks before you see any eggs. So best thing to do is put that cell in there, write the date down, and then come back really in 3 weeks. Then she should be laying up pretty good by that time.
Yeah, because generally once they hatch, you got approximately 5 days to they sexually mature and then go out on their mating flight.
Yeah, well, what happens in that first 4 to 5 days as the queen comes out of the cocoon, her body it's an exoskeleton. It's her skeleton is her outer shell, you might say, of her, and that has to harden. Her wings have to dry, and they also, you might say, have to harden so she can fly. And she'll walk around in there and get all that kind of stuff done. And of course, she'll be eating. I mean, she will feed herself at that time, and maybe some of the other bees will. She doesn't really have a pheromone at that time until she gets mated. And so she's not really, I'm not an expert. I'll say she's not totally recognized as a full-blooded queen yet because of the pheromone.
Yeah. They said they'll have a small amount of pheromone, but not really enough until they're
not enough to be quite recognized or whatever. But on the other hand, I have had a nuke. I was going through it. The first 2 frames, I seen this young queen racing around. She was actually a virgin, more or less. And I said, "Oh, there's the queen." I put it back in, and about 2 more frames over, well, there's Big Mama with her red dot, or whatever color it was at that year. And I'm like, oh, now we got a mother and a daughter in the same hive. And then happened so I had a nuke right beside that one that was queenless, which I knew it was queenless. So I went back those to where I last saw her on those frames, picked up that virgin, and I'm scanning. I said, there she is. She's on this frame. And I opened up the other hive real quick. And I didn't really shake her, but she was kind of down below. She kind of walked off the frame into that other hive. And then she just walked right down in that hive. No introduction cage, no time, no nothing. And as soon as she went in there, it wasn't 5 seconds. The bees that were up on top of them frames, they jacked their butts up, started fanning, and they're all like, "Hey, the queen's here, the queen's here." And I just put the lid back on and came back in a couple weeks, and she had she had brood all laid up.
Good. That's a good thing.
So if it's a young queen that's hadn't been mated, you can walk her right in the hive.
Yeah, I went through one of my hives in my number 3 yard today and found an unmarked queen in there. So they may have replaced her early this spring also.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have my markers with me today to mark her.
And another advice is to get yourself 5 or go to Amazon, and I buy them by the dozen. Is those clear plastic queen clips?
Yeah, I got it.
I like those better than the steel ones because you can see the bee inside.
Yep.
And they're pretty cheap coming from Amazon. I just got a box of them because I had a shaker box. That's a hive body with a queen excluder tacked onto the bottom of it. Michael Palmer used to use that. You're trying to find these queens or whatever, you'll shake the bees into that shaker box. And of course, that box is over another hive that's got frames in it. And then you smoke them down. Well, all the worker bees will, except for the drones and the queens, they're the only ones that can get through. Well, all the worker bees you'll push them down through that queen excluder into that other box. Well, I found the mother, and I think it was 3 daughters in that one hive because it was a big hive, and I was trying to split it, trying to find the queen. The queen wasn't marked, and it was just, overabundance of bees.
But that kind of goes against conventional wisdom, though, doesn't it?
Happens more. That happens more than what most beekeepers realize, and it's becoming more and more. It's becoming more and more evident, I guess you would call it. At least it is. That's
conventional wisdom is they hatch and then they sting the other cells, right?
No.
Or they kill the other queens, or they fight
the workers.
Let me give you a story. One of my members in my club, he had an observation hive, and he's sitting in. I think it was in the summertime. He's watching television. All of a sudden, he heard one of the. He knew that there was several queen cells in there, and all of a sudden, he was. Of course, obviously his hearing is much better than mine, but he heard one of the queens piping in the cocoon, not outside, in the cocoon.
Dang.
And all of a sudden, the whole hive went berserk. All the worker bees started racing around, he said, and all those other cells in there, the worker bees went out and tore them down and stung those other, not the queen, because she hadn't been out of the cocoon yet.
Right.
But he was the first piper, and the rest of them, all the worker bees tore them other cells down. I didn't see it, but that's he's pretty reliable.
That's what I've noticed when like we were talking the other day, how we were using the like I said, we were using the hardware cloth to make the little dome to go over the cells for the queens. When they would hatch out, they would just be trapped, and then you could catch them one at a time and move them. And I found out that if it's foundationless, if a queen hatches out, like you said, the workers will burrow through the back of the comb to kill that
I
cell.
mean, if you look at, if you're in there looking at queen cells, and it's pretty obvious if the queen has hatched naturally. You usually have the lid, as I call it. It's a flap hanging down. And I call that the lid of that cocoon. And then if they've had other ones in there and they killed them, they won't have the lid, but you'll see a hole chewed out on the side of the cocoon where they basically go in there, they chew that out, and they sting her.
Now, I've seen the side or the top that it looks like it would have hatched, but there's no flap on it. It's just the round top. So I don't know if that's something that they've opened up and went in there or.
Oh, it's just round, no lid?
Yeah,
it's the cocoon is full, but at the bottom is completely lit. The flap is gone, correct?
Right.
And it's just a round hole.
Mm-hmm.
But she's hatched. They didn't eat that lid off.
Yeah, about to say she'll normally chew it almost in a perfect circle around it.
Correct. Now, I've heard some different ones discuss this where they were talking about which queen cell was getting ready to hatch, and they talked about the worker bees going in and kind of chewing on the outside and thinning that cell wall. So she could actually chew that out when she was ready.
Yeah, I've seen that before. I've seen that on.
Some people can recognize, the fuzzy bees versus the young bees and all that kind of stuff. I haven't been, even as much as I've been at it, I don't really recognize all that stuff as much.
To me, the newer ones, they just look a little bit lighter in color, like they hadn't been worked and got much dirt and everything.
And their back.
I've seen them where they're really young and they get kind of a gray fuzzy. They're kind of gray looking.
Yeah, and they're fuzzy on their back, and as they get older, that spot turns black, right? All that fuzz.
Still be looking like ashy looking gray.
Yeah, that's it, ashy.
They need.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Hey, Spanky, what's this you got down here in the room? Trying to
that
show
was an article. So that was an article I was looking at. I found it by chance. It talks about how they are in China taking and making multiple queen hives. So you can see it in the picture there.
Yeah, I see at least 3 of them there.
And it talks about how they found a way to prevent queens from killing one another by ablating the mandibles, and they forced several queens to habitat to create more productive colonies. And it talks about how the blighted mandibles refrain from engaging in lethal contests.
If I could just get my bees to accept the queen, that'd be good.
I mean,
that'd be good.
I mean, most people think about that the queen is in charge of the hive, but actually she isn't. It's more of the worker bees. They are the ones that make a lot of the decisions.
Yeah, well, we were having that discussion the other night, right? So, like, the workers know when there's no room left to store honey and pollen, and they're also the ones that run her around the hive to fatten her out or thin her out so she can.
They won't. What they do, they won't feed her,
and they won't let her lay either, right? They just keep her running.
I think so.
They'll keep chasing her around. Basically, put on her diet and exercise routine.
That's what I need.
Yeah, I saw where they were doing multiple queens, and I was like, that's interesting. I did some research. It's not a new thing. They were doing it back in the day.
Now, I've shook swarms that has had multiple queens in it. Hey, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
That have had multiple queens in it.
I've seen the skinny bee man.
Right.
Hey, William.
He's had some videos where he found 4 or 5
queens
in a swarm.
I had,
but I mean, if you think about it, that's kind of like, I won't say it's surprising because nature is like, well, if we have multiple queens, one gets eaten by a bird or something happens to them. We always have a backup
Right. Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
Well, I got called to an old man's house that had a bees in the tree, and the bees were actually living in the ground beneath the root cluster. But when I got there, he says, "Oh, you're a little bit late. They're up in the tree." And there was 2 big swarms hanging on 2 different branches. So it ended up being a double swarm catch. So I ended up taking a 5-gallon bucket and a long pole, I don't even know what you use it for. I mean, it's just a long aluminum pole, like one of those expandable ones.
A painter's pole.
Yeah, a real long one. And I got up on a 20-foot ladder, and I took the pole in the bucket and hit the branch over the cluster, and they fell in the bucket. Most of them. The rest of them fell on me. And and then I just brought them down and dumped the bucket into it on top of a nuke, and they went in, and then what was on the ground marched into the colonies. And
I had a swarm like that, and they actually had multiple queens. I found a queen on the ground being bald, and I rescued her and put her in a separate box.
Now, I have heard if you do find a queen like that, where let's say there's a swarm on a limb, and then you find a queen, like you say, being bald on the ground, they're trying to kill her, but I think because she's inferior. So
It may have been the old queen they were superseding.
it could be. Yeah.
But-
And I put her in a box. And
yeah,
they
that's
didn't-
what I'm saying. I mean, you could take that queen and put her in her own little nuke. If they, cage her, put her in there, and if you can put bees in her that accept her, then I mean, she's still working until she can't work no more, right?
I'll say split the swarm.
that's what I did.
Yeah.
It was a big swarm.
Take half the swarm, put with the original queen, or what you may think's the original, and put one with the other queen, and see how
I
it works.
wondered if it wasn't multiple swarms and they converged at the same location.
I haven't never.
It could be possible because swarm trap I put at my old lady's cafe at her work last year. I caught 3 swarms in 3 weeks in the exact same box, same location. So they have multiple scouts from different swarms checking it out.
Yeah. Now,
I caught
Iowa-
one swarm, brought it home, put it in a 10 frame, brought the box right back. Next week, got another one.
Iowa Land's beekeeper here. She's presuming the mother-daughter as occurrence or likely procedures situations. I don't know. They just, for some reason, some of them will get along like that.
David had 9 queens in a swarm at Barnyard Bees. I don't know how he keeps up with all them nukes he's got, and that he's got multiple yards too.
I about to say he got good paperwork or a good computer system.
Well, he's proud of them nukes too, man. I've looked at the prices on them things. He's pretty proud of them.
I hadn't checked them.
They're over 200, I think, for the nuke, and I think they're 165. They're like $35 higher on their package bees than anybody else around here. And then you got to pay for shipping on top of that, so you're probably at $200 by the time that's done. So, yeah, they're pretty proud of them.
Kind of depends on where the area you're at when it comes to pricing.
Yeah.
That's like we were talking the other night. Even just a 5-gallon bucket of honey can be, $40, $50 difference depending where we at.
Yeah. So, do we have a bottling tank update from you yet, Charlie? You hear anything from him?
I haven't heard diddly. I don't know.
I've been contemplating ordering one because that's like really that's the next thing I need. Unless I got all this fancy, expensive equipment now, and I hate to be putting that in the 5-gallon plastic pail with the plastic gate on it. But if I have to, I have to. But I noticed a lot of the ones from Lyson are not heated. You can get a heated option, but it's like
That's a tank, yeah. Now, there's something that I was brought to my attention was that with a Maxant, it's got water jacket all the way around the top, around the sides, and on the bottom,
Mhm.
and then you heat the water with the heater in. Then there's other ones that have I don't think it's really water heated. That's a Maxant there.
Yeah.
But there's other ones that have a filament, I'll say, or like a
element, like a submersion type of thing.
no, it's like
Almost like a water heater, probably.
something on the bottom of the tank that actually just heats the tank, I guess you would call it. The way I get it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't realize this about the Lyson one. Oh, let me see if I can find it again while I'm talking to you guys. That I really liked. I'll just pull up this premium bottling tank, and I don't think the Max is the Maxant like that one, Lee, that we are talking about earlier.
What's that?
Here, I'll just bring it up and.
The one I have, it's the 16-gallon Max, and it's the double jacketed with the water inside, and it's got basically a hot water element that goes under it, and
Okay.
it warms the water.
Well, this one, let me. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Try to share screen again.
Got somebody down here in the waiting room too. I'm going to bring in. We got Rich. Time is honey.
So, I don't know if you guys. Oh nope, I gotta
Okay.
share. Hold on. Add the stream. All right. So, with the Lyson, the drain tube is actually at the bottom, and the bottom is conical, so you don't have to tip the tank to get the honey out.
I do like that.
It comes straight out of the center, the lowest point to the side. So that's the which one is that one? Hold on.
Is it just a tank?
That one is. They do have a heated version, but I don't know if
Yeah, but find out how they heat it. I mean, I don't think I'm not sure if it's water jacketed or whether it's only water on the bottom.
They do have. I know they have a water jacketed one, and that's what I'm looking for. The water jacketed one as well. So, where the hell? There
Now,
it
like
is.
mine, the valve or the gate where it's going to exit is not in the center like that. It comes out the side, but it's right at the bottom of the inner jacket. So once I hit the valve and everything drains out, I may have a half a jar left in there, and I could either just barely tilt it over and get that last half jar, but normally I'll just add more honey to it and fill it back up.
So this 36-gallon tank is water jacketed. It says water jacketed on it. It says it's 230 volt heating element though, so you have to have 220 power on it, right?
Yeah.
230. So
220, 240. Like the 16 gallon that I got is 110, 120.
but it doesn't show the bottom of this one.
Yeah, it'd be
So-
nice if they showed you view all the way around. That way you can see where the element or the control panel or whatever.
Let's see
may
if
be.
it says on here. Dimensions, construction process, honey discharge, 440 pounds of honey, 36 gallons, but it don't show the bottom. So
Yeah, but I like it doesn't have a no drip valve. How do you put that on that type of a gate?
they got them that'll bolt. It bolts right on. And matter of fact, they've got we were talking about that too. Let me see if I can show that. If I can find it. See, it's got the Lyson bottling valve. It's just got a flange, so it bolts on the flange. But they also have this.
Oh, the air actuated.
Yep. So this bolts right to the flange of the tank. You put a compressor to this line. So when you step on the pedal, it opens the valve. So it's still like a manual valve, but instead of doing a hand operator, you can just hit on the foot and it opens the valve and releases the honey into the jar. So it's not automatic, but
It ain't pre-programmed a certain amount coming out, a certain volume.
yeah, it just opens it up. So it's still no touch. You can hold the jar in there and
I mean,
that's
you play with it enough though, you would get used to how long to hold your foot down or whatever it may be.
so it frees your hands up, right, to load bottles in, and use your left hand to bottle it, let off the pedal, put the lid on, set it to the side, grab the next one, hit the button, pump it in there. And I mean, that's $493 for that valve, but
It ain't worth it.
you don't think so? It's
No,
$150
really.
for the one grip valve.
How much are you going to bottle up at one time? Now, this week I sold 220 or 30 pounds in this week, which is a pretty good week for me. And I bottled, if I bought, I would have did it in one evening, but I bottled, I don't know, 35 pounds or something like that. And you're talking, by the time you bottle, you label and everything else, maybe an hour. And
Right.
that's with a bottling bucket. And if you had a bottling tank with no drip valve like that Maxxant, shoot, wouldn't be hardly be no big deal at all.
Right.
And like you say, you get used to. The main thing I find is with my bottles, you take the 1 pound plastic bottle, you got that fill ring around there. If you fill up just a shade underneath that fill ring, below it, I guess you would say, it's dead on when it comes to being a 1 pound. Because I weigh every bottle. I'm with 1 pound, 0.3 of an ounce, I guess it is. 1/10, 2/10.
I saw a YouTube video from one guy on YouTube that he bought like off of eBay, one of those Chinese filling machines with the gear driven things. And he actually got the one with the double spout on it. And I think you can get one of them for like $1,200, and you calibrate them into the weight, right? And they're pretty accurate.
That's what I was looking at with the Dadant Fieldmaster. I mean, it was $4,000, but it done went up closer to $5,000 now, and it's gear driven. But you're still doing one bottle at a time, getting your foot valve. That's why I was thinking about going with that licensed not the tabletop, but the big stand one. That way I can just put 4 cases of jars, and they'll automatically rotate around and fill them for me.
Then all you're doing is taking off and spinning lids on them.
Yeah, until I get that little door open and put it on the 6-7 foot conveyor with my air labeler. Put my lot numbers on the side.
Where it spins the lid on for you. Like
no, I don't know if I'll end up with that, but it just takes it down the conveyor and it goes by a little laser eye, and it'll basically almost airbrush its label on the side where it has your lot number or whatever information you want to put.
That's big timing when you get that.
It was some of the off-brand little conveyor and labeler, but
but even the off-brand stuff is high.
Yeah, I think the conveyor, it was 6 to 7 foot long. You can get that for about $300, $400, and then the air labeler, basically it takes a standard inkjet printer cartridge, whatever color you want to use, and it shoots air across it and prints the label on the side. I think that was like $600.
Yeah, I used to work at the Pepsi bottling plant here, and they had that on their line, right? When it come down, it would be the expiration date on everything and the lot number.
That's what I was going to do, print like the date that I bottled it, because I keep everything tracked in a database on my computer. Whenever I put honey in a bucket, I put a lot number on it, and I could tell you a year from now, if I pull that bucket out, I can look it up and tell you what day it was bottled, what time it was bottled, what yard it come from, and what hive number it came from.
Let's say I had Rich in. He's in the waiting room. Time is honey, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know if he's there.
He's muted.
I don't think he's there.
Yeah, I brought him in a minute ago, and he had in the private chat. He's on the phone right now.
Oh,
So just let me know when he got here. I'd bring him on back in.
well, then I'll remove him out again. Well, I did remove him out, and he came back. All right, sorry about that. I didn't know.
I'm trying to get better looking over at them other windows. Let me know what's going on. Like I only got 3 of them here to look at.
Let me see. Spanky sent me some. Yeah, that one right there is the decapitator.
Oh yeah.
That's
What's
the
that, queen
that's
clip
the one
thing?
I decapitated my queen with.
What's that?
A one-handed queen catcher.
I ordered one of those.
Well, be careful because especially the Chinese ones, that slide is pretty.
Oh yeah.
It gets sticky. You got to push a little bit, and then all of a sudden it'll take off.
Oh, you're talking about with the marking cage?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one-handed queen catcher and marking cage.
Well, I use them. I think I got the one from mine. I'll say from Man Lake or wherever. And when they first come out, and I use them, I like them, but I don't do it like what they say. Like you say, you're supposed to, put it down on top of. Yeah, I got the other model.
That's exactly like the one I got, but I didn't order it from Amazon. But looks exactly like it. Yellow.
Yeah, the one I got, I think it was $20.
Yeah, that's the one I got from Amazon last year. I used it one time. Other than that, while the queen's on the frame, I just put a finger on each side of her, hold her, dot her head, let her walk.
Was you wearing gloves?
No.
I wear gloves. I have to wear gloves.
Yeah.
Well, the
But like everything I did today, the only thing I had on today was just a head veil, no jacket, sleeves. What I do though with my smoker, I'll actually smoke my arms and my hands and all to get that smell on it. They'll land on my arm and then just walk around and fly off.
No, they don't care about that smoker.
Get yourself take the queen clip and grab her in the queen clip, and then kind of use your hand as a funnel and open the queen clip so she'll walk down in there into that marking cage. But I even with that, sometimes might be better to get yourself a queen muff, which is where you put all that in. You put the queen and everything in there, and it's your hands are like this, and it's a netting, and that way if she does get away from you, she don't fly off. I had one do that. That was like $35 flying off.
Yeah, I had that happen.
I've ordered my markers too. So
I gave up on it. I don't mark my queens anymore. I'm like, really, the only thing that marking a queen does is help me find the queen.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for the queen or for the hive, and all I can do is mess it up.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, I don't purposely go out there just to mark them, but if I happen to have my markers on me and I see one that's unmarked, yeah, I'll go ahead and mark it.
I'm like Benny says, if you see them, mark them.
Yeah, but I'm not going to put on my inspection report if I see something wrong, say, oh, I got to come back to mark this queen. No.
Did you see that video from Black Mountain Honey where he went to the fine tip fluorescent markers, paint pens? He said he's even not really going by the color, the year color necessarily. He says if it's a yellow year, but he's going to use like a fluorescent yellow, a brighter yellow, something that stands out more.
Now, another thing that I do on my hives, I generally don't show on my video the front of the hive because, I mean, I'd be standing in their flight path messing with them. But on the front of each one of my hives, on the bottom board, I have different colored thumbtacks, the same colors that you use to mark your queens with. And I'll put that thumbtack on there. That way I know what color queen or how old the queen should be that's in there. And if I see a virgin queen, I'll remark it. That way, just glancing at the front of my hive, I know, hey, it should be a 2-year-old queen in here. I know what color I think I'm looking for. And what I did, I went on Office Depot, and they got, I think it's 100-pack of assorted thumbtacks, but it's all the correct colors that you need. And I just went in and bought 5 packs of assorted thumbtacks and then separated them all into their individual box.
So here's a good question. When you go to work your bee yard, what do you usually carry with you out there?
GoPro.
Well, yeah. 2 GoPros.
My audio. Smoker and hive tool.
Because I find, even in my videos, you guys can notice that I'm like, oh, I need to go get this. I need to go get that. Now, granted, it's not a far walk to go get it for me. I'm not like in an out yard or something like that. But, I mean, I usually leave my hive tool on one of my hives. So it's usually out there already.
I've done that a few times. That's why I keep 2 of them now.
I do carry a wax block.
I need to start doing that.
Now, what all applications does the wax block give you?
All right, so the wax block, when I pull a frame out, if it's a plastic foundation and they're not drawing it or they're drawing part of it, I'll take it and rub it around the other side and add a small coat of dry wax on it, and then they usually start working that. I think a lot of times they get bored or something and just chew the wax off of it or something, and it just helps out. I keep the wax block. Other than that, I don't use that much smoke because I've got both extremes. Either the colony is very gentle and I don't have to wear anything, or they're just super asshole colony and it doesn't matter how much smoke I put on them. You know, I could mace them and it probably wouldn't matter.
I thought she's up here in my bees.
Oh yeah, I got 2 colonies, man, that'll just rip your face off, and I haven't figured out why. One of them is queenless. The other one is not queenless, but they're just very defensive. And it might be, and this is something that I don't know why it would be, because I see other like commercial beekeepers have their colonies really close together and they don't appear to be that defensive when they're working them. But I thought that maybe proximity to other strong colonies next to them, maybe they're just that defensive to keep the other bees from robbing them out or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder if you've got any skunks in the area.
I've never seen a skunk in South Carolina. We've got armadillos. We've got possums and raccoons. We've got foxes. Now I know we got rats.
I just take the plastic contact and stick it right in the edge of the bottom board in the front.
So here's a question, Charlie. So I did my early splits that didn't do good, right? We already know that. That's well established, right? So now the question is, I don't think I have at this point, I'm not in fear of my hive swarming because I split them already. So now, just wait till after the honey flow and do late season splits?
When's your honey flow quit?
Should start in April, May, and June.
Yeah, same as mine then.
And then split.
Yeah, you want to get, April, May, or I mean, I looked at ones like you were doing the Demery. To me, they were looking awfully weak.
Well, I already took us. Well, okay, so yes. They had 8 solid frames of bees in the bottom. However, over the last 2 weeks before I did that video, I took frames of brood out of the top and the queen cells and reallocate them to other colonies, right? So yeah, I mean, that would make sense. Had I just let it go and let all of the brood hatch out, it would have been a different situation. So if I let the brood hatch out this time, which there should be a lot, I'll see Wednesday. Wednesday's been a week, so if the weather's good, I'm gonna go back in there.
Well, that Demery, I was looking at the brood pattern also, and it doesn't look too good of a brood pattern.
Really?
I don't think so. Now, if you look at Lee's, that split you made out of that one hive, and you put it in the
horizontal nuke.
Yeah, that horizontal hive. You had them nice big sheets of brood from corner to corner. Yeah. That's what I'm used to. I mean, that's a good queen.
That's what I found in my number 3 yard today. I found one hive that was a little bit weak, not too bad. Found a queen. She's marked. She had a nice brood pattern, but it just wasn't a whole lot in there. So I had another hive right behind it that was real strong, a lot of brood, solid, and I moved the frame over.
All right. So how many frames? The strong hive? How many frames of, I'll say, cat brood was in that hive? Do you remember?
The one from today?
Well, whatever. Yeah, the one you were telling what you're just talking about, where you moved it, I presume.
They had 3 solid frames, both sides covered. So I moved one frame over to the weaker hive just to help balance it out.
Right. Well, And then you had a bunch of other hives that had open brood and larvae and that kind of stuff.
And then I had several of them that had swarmed.
Well, what I ran into with the Demaray is when I did it the first time, I didn't do it like Black Mountain Honey said. He said, put one frame of brood in the bottom with the queen and all blanks, right? So they would draw it out. And I didn't do that. I put drawn comb down there. And I noticed when I went back in for the Demaray, they had a lot of nectar and a lot of pollen back in the bottom box. So we're going to see. I mean, it's definitely an experiment, but if I've got one solid deep and I go to single deep management on that and remove all the boxes and just leave them in the bottom box and start stacking honey supers, then it should be good to go. I mean, in the next 3 weeks, so they're going to have the brood from up top hatching out, and the brood from that she's laying up should be following right behind that. So,
All right, Dennis's statement down here, you had a hive that swarmed and without any swarm cells in it. Did you go through and find any eggs and larvae that are still left in there? And if so,
or was it abscond?
yeah, do you have enough bees left in there if they do have eggs to draw a queen cell?
Let me see. I'm testing a splitting method from C.C. Miller's book, 50 Years Among the Bees. Supposed to keep your colony so strong you can still harvest honey. Uploading now, 1.5 hours for 8.5 minute video. Man, you got that great internet. And then the problem is if it's in HD, YouTube has been slow at processing.
I can upload a 15-minute video in 38 seconds, and then I'll have to wait several minutes for YouTube to process it.
Rich, welcome to the broadcast.
Hey guys.
You have a
Yes,
good
I was
weekend,
listening
sir?
to you about your upload. Takes a while. If you're
And it
hardwired,
said
it
he had
goes a lot
7
quicker.
frames of capped brood and an empty frame of comb. If it was 7 full frames capped brood,
You should have took half of that.
yeah, half of that should have already been gone because that hive's about to explode. With 7
Hey.
full frames, if
Hey,
it's
Charlie.
capped both sides, you
Hey,
can
Ken.
split that 3 ways.
Well, 7 frames of brood is going to be at least 14 frames of new bees, right?
Minimal,
Minimal?
probably closer to 21, because
Hey,
one
Tex, how you
full
doing, man?
frame of brood can be up to 3 frames of bees once they hatch.
That's
I mean,
It doubles basically, doesn't it, Lee?
Between double and triple.
That's
But-
what I'm
If you got
understanding.
7 frames, I would have took 4. Let's see, 3.
You could have split that at least twice, maybe 3 times.
I would have took, if it was 7 frames of brood like that, cat brood with bees, I would have pulled 4 frames of that out of there,
Out of 7, Charlie?
out of the 7, and left
Okay.
left 3 frames of solid brood in there, and then and hopefully you would have drawn comb and put that in there, and and the queen should be there someplace, and let her keep on laying. Because that's I mean, when you see that and you don't see queen cells yet, it's going to be.
Oh yeah.
That's that single hive brood chamber management system where you're equalizing all the time.
Yep.
And I was looking at, where is it, Dennis or Dennis had the 7 frames. Pull that out of there and give her more laying room. And somebody was talking about keeping the 50 Years Among Bees and all that in Miller's book. And he's talking about keeping it up to where you're still harvesting honey. Well, that's the key to this here single brood chamber management system that I did last year, is that you would think you're pulling bees out of this box every 7 to 10 days, that you're not going to have the field force to go out and do honey. But
the field force keeps coming back, though, right?
yeah, but I'm talking about, your bees are dying at the
Right.
same time, and you're what it amounts to, the bottom line of it is you're trying to maintain a certain level of bee population within that box, and by pulling that brood out of there, you leave them with a couple frames of cat broods. That's your new bees coming on. But the other ones are, if you give them too many new bees, then they're going to go up and swarm. So there you lost your honey crop for the year, especially if you like you, Bob, April, May, and June is your honey crop season. After that, you're over with. You're done.
Yeah, we do get a little bit of a fall flow.
Yeah.
I don't get anything, but very little. But
our main flow is April, May, and June, and then we'll get some goldenrod in the fall. Last year we didn't.
Right. So I mean, you pull those frames out of there, we maintain that level of bee population, and that actually will bring you more honey in. And the whole thing about that is you have the one box, you got the queen excluder, you got the honey super on. Now I figure I got my stuff ready to go for honey supers. As soon as this cold snap goes and I can get in there, I'll go through that box and then I'll put this queen excluder on and a honey super on. And then, it won't fill up real quick, but when the flow does hit, I'll be checking it about every 3 to 4 days.
Yeah. My number one hive that I pulled that double split on the other day to put into the horizontal nuke, there was still enough bees left in there that I ended up under supering with another super that was already drawn comb.
Are they drawing it out already?
Those supers already had drawn comb in it.
Okay.
But
so you didn't checkerboard any new?
No. I've got 20. Well, the reason I didn't checkerboard, I'm going with the 9-frame supers this year. That way I can get the fat comb. If I put just foundation in there, they'll draw it all odd if I'm running 9-frame.
Yeah, so that's why I started the supers that I put on with 10 frames, so they would start drawing comb, and then once they start drawing the comb out, then I'll remove a frame.
Yeah.
And space it to 9.
So I got those two on my number one hive with 9 frames, but I got 20 new supers that I'm going to start waxing this week and have them ready for next weekend or the following when my new bees come in also.
Yeah, I got some candy boards on my 10 framers, and I just kind of popped one of them up just to see because it was windy and everything. And great bee population, and they got burr comb everywhere inside that darn 3-inch candy board. I need to get them things off there quick. So they're drawing wax. They're ready to draw wax.
Yeah.
Well, today I didn't get in my colonies, but one of my nukes that I thought was not existent anymore, it had a lot of activity going in and out of it, and it couldn't have been Robin because there was nothing left in there when I put him in there. So that was one that I had dropped like a frame of brood and eggs in there just as a single frame split. So I'm gonna go check it tomorrow and see what's going on in there. If maybe the queen hatched and maybe a mated queen came back, because once I put one frame in there, I know it's going to be a few weeks. I don't even really mess with it too much. Just kind of watch the entrance to see if there's any activity. Yeah. And it looked like it was doing all right from what I saw today.
Now, is that where I seen in that one video where you put that one frame of the queen cell with that one big box?
The yellow one, the yellow hive, I put that in the other day.
I guess. I don't remember now.
I didn't see any activity on that today, so it might have died out. I'm going to.
What I was getting at is you put it one frame in that one box at 5-frame box, and that's just not enough. You need more bee power.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I did with my skip today. I dropped in 2 frames of brood, and then the bees that were on it, and shook another frame in.
Yeah, I've seen that, but I've also seen David from Barnyard Bees drop 1 frame of brood in and a blank frame in a 2-frame mating nuke. So what's the big difference between doing that in a 2-frame box and in a 5-frame box? Just the space.
Too much space.
Diamond Honey's got a question. What do you want to do?
Exactly the difference. Absolutely what Bob was just about to say. I'm tuning into everything you guys are saying. How you're saying more, you can't to take 1 frame, right, to do a split, drop it into say a 5-frame nuke. you would need more bee power than just one frame of bees, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, the idea
to
is when
rear
it gets
that.
cold, they're going to cluster, right? When they cluster, they're going to eliminate their keeping the brood warm and keeping the queen cell
Okay.
warm because they're going to keep themselves warm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So you need more bee power. You would need to dump some bees into a nuke then if you're going to do something like that.
but I have seen
Mhm.
David from Barnyard Bees take one frame, drop it into a 2-frame mating nuke with a blank, and let it go. So,
Well, what's the other characteristic? I mean, how warm is it at nighttime? How warm is it during the day?
right,
I
You
mean,
got
everything.
it's 70. Is it 75 degrees at night?
not at night, not
You
yet.
know,
You-
no,
you
but
gotta factor in
down
the-
where he's at, I know he's in kind of a North Georgia area.
Yeah, he's north of me actually.
He's
you got to factor in the room that they're filling up. You figure one frame of brood going into a 2-frame mate nuke, they're filling up 50% of that box. So there's less room for them to have to warm. If you drop in one frame into a 5-frame box, that's 4 frame blank space.
Right.
Hey, Mike, my mentor's had the same thing happen. He's had swarms return and move into dead hives, man. Said it's happened several times, actually. It's not a uncommon occurrence. He'll have dead out hives, and he'll have swarms that come back and occupy the boxes and start
Move right
building.
in, right?
Yeah, they'll move right in.
It's like,
Yeah.
new condo.
Yeah, pretty much. Be like, hey, new space. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
got one empty hive in my backyard. I don't know if it's my bees or some other feral bees, but they've been checking the box out.
They're going to move in. No doubt, probably.
now for Dennis. He says he's going to split his hives tomorrow. I don't know where you live at, but make sure it's a good warm condition. I mean, your weather is settled and you've got warm nights and warm days. I mean, it sounds like to me you already do. If they're swarming,
Especially if they're queenless and you just putting in some eggs in, hoping they'll draw a queen cell. Make sure that weather's right.
Are you wanting to split when it's, say, kind of the warmest part of the day then? Like if you're going to do your splitting or
It really depends. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not just the time of the day. What's your weather looking like for the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
say you got like solid 90-degree days, average, 70-degree evenings,
yeah, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
That would be
the problem
ideal.
I got is like tonight it's 32 degrees.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
not
Dennis
gonna-
is
Yeah.
north of me.
Yeah, but yet 2 weeks ago on a Saturday it was 70 degrees. Well, in that week it was averaging 65 to 70 degrees throughout the whole entire week. Well, everybody thought spring was here, and then it deteriorated the following week, and and now we're not having. Well, yesterday it sleeted. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting in the house and there's this big old black cloud coming across. I thought it was going to rain, and it's putting pellets out there. And I mean, it's like, really? But that's the way my weather is. So, I mean, people say, well, what about this? Well, I said, I haven't even opened my eyes up except for checking feed on top.
Yeah.
And I had removed my winter coverings here about a week ago or more. And I don't think it's going to hurt anything. It was just more of a windbreak. But
Right.
We're having like 85 average in the day and 55 average at night right now.
oh, you're in good shape.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
you're,
what I'm
you're
showing
good.
for this week. We mid to upper 80s during the day, and 60s are low tomorrow night, and then we'll have 70 at night.
Yeah, you guys are like in the middle of the summer for me.
Now, like if I do a split, I generally like to do them later in the evening. That way, if you are splitting in the same yard,
All the bees are back, maybe.
all the bees are kind of back. You can see how many you're putting in the new hive, and then it's right at dark. So the unfortunate bees ain't going to go straight back out the hive to the original hive. At least they're stuck in the new hive for the one full night, and then I'll lean a branch or something up against the front with a bunch of leaves on it. That way, when they come out, they see something's different, they'll reorient.
I just saw that. I just saw somebody do that method. He took some foliage basically
Mhm.
and just basically hung it in front of the hive.
Yeah.
And let them work their way out of it,
Yeah,
and that's
you can lean a limb up against it. You can take a little bit of grass and just plug in the hole. That way, they got to kind of chew their way out, and then they'll reorient. Now, I mean, if the weather is right, it's best if you lock them down and you completely close that entrance off for 2-3 days at least. But that depends on how hot your weather is. You don't want to overheat them.
And make sure they got stores.
Yeah, make sure they have stores, pollen, nectar, honey.
Now, I have a question. I've been kicking around the idea of my first year doing single brood management, Lee, and I know you run your yard like that. Can you kind of fill me in on that?
So does Charlie. Both of them do.
Charlie?
Single hybrid chamber management.
Yes, sir. Yep.
You will have people
I tried that last year for the first time, and that if you're looking to make honey, that's the way to go. And if you're looking for swarm management, that's the way to go. I mean,
Okay.
to me, it's like the stuff like reversing the brood boxes and all that kind of stuff. Yes, it is. It does work for you, but it only buys you a little bit of time. Where it's just like, what was it, Dennis here? I think it was. He had 7 frames of brood, and they swarmed, and they had one open frame, probably with eggs. But I go in there every 7 to 10, about every week, basically, when I've got my honey supers on. It's a pain. I mean, it's a work thing. You got to take the honey supers off. You got to get down in there, and you got to go through that hive and see how many frames of cat brood you got. And if it's like 4 frames of brood, of cat brood, I'll take 2 out.
Yeah.
Give them 2 to hatch. And take that 2 with the bees on it. That's where that queen being marked helps you out, because you can isolate her.
Yeah.
And
it makes it a lot easier to find your queen too, instead of having to search through 2 full boxes. If that's what you're trying to do, find your queen, you only have one.
well, you're going to be in one box. If it's a deep, you're going to run through 10 frames. Now, I run mediums, and I run 2 mediums for my brood chamber. And then, of course, all my supers are medium. So everything is interchangeable for me.
Yeah.
And that's my big thing.
That's where I had a problem the other day when I had to split that number 1 hive into the horizontal nuke. They had queen cells. I left 1 medium super on them without the queen excluder. That's where they drew the cells. So I had to move a medium frame over to the horizontal hive, and it's the deep frame. So, yeah, I know they're going to draw a little wild comb on the bottom, but I have to leave it there until the queen cell.
Well, I mean, sometimes that's your advantage, because they'll draw a drone comb on a medium frame. Instead of buying a green frame, put a medium frame in a deep box. And then the bees will draw out drone comb. And there's a cheap way of mite management.
Yep.
All you got to do is pull that frame up, and it's full of drone, cat drone. Just take your knife or your hive tool, scrape that off, and you just got rid of a ton of mites.
I've done that before.
Right, but as far as back, you go through that hive, and you have, let's say, 4 frames of brood, and you'll pull 2 of them out, put them in another weak hive, or make yourself a split. And I presume you're going to have more than, you're going to have multiple hives, so you're doing this and gathering frames out of each one of them if they need to be taken out. And then you put the queen excluder back on, and of course you put frames back in there that are drawn. And she keeps laying all that up, because she's laying all that up with eggs. Well, they're not going to put any honey in there where her eggs are. And you manipulated them right there to where they have to put all the honey upstairs. And that's where you want them to be. That's where you want all that honey to be. And I always keep that super that's on that queen excluder empty. So when you're starting out and the flow's starting to come in not real strong, they'll fill up, let's say 5 frames in the middle. That's where they're going to first start filling. And you see it's filled, and then I pull out the empties off the sides and push them filled frames to the sides and put those empties in the middle.
Yep.
Then come back in 3 or 4 days, and maybe they've got all that filled. Then I take that super off, and I put an empty on, and I put that super back on, and start the whole process over again.
So you put the empty super, and then the.
I always under super, keeping. I don't want them to have to work and go up and through a super to get up to an empty super. I want them come right,
Right
out of the high body, right up into that top area there, and fill it. And you're not worried about cap, and you're worried about getting filled up with nectar.
Yeah. And to me, it makes them take that new super more regularly because they're having to cross it to get to the one that they were filling up. So their smell, the scent and everything gets on that new one, and they'll take to it faster than if you just was the super on top.
This is the first year I've even put a honey excluder, a queen excluder on a colony with the Demeray. I have never used one. So
well, a lot of people call them, honey excluders and all that kind of stuff, but over the years, it's like, like you say, you either have 3 mediums or if you got 2 deeps, and they'll pack that 3rd box on a medium with 3 medium brood chamber. That 3rd box will be full of honey. And I'm like, what are you doing? Will you get it above the queen excluder or I want you? And then, or if you have 2 deeps, they'll pack that top deep with a lot. You'll put empties in, and they'll fill them up again with nectar instead of brood. And this is the thing about this is that you're dealing with the size of the cavity that they're living in.
right.
And there's been a lot of studies on it, and I don't keep up with all that, but that cavity size, if you maintain that and then maintain the population by pulling cap brood out, where there's new brood hatching, but not as much if she's a very rambunctious queen. And then you put them supers on there, they'll fill them up. Everything goes upstairs, and you just keep adding supers and adding supers and adding supers. The biggest problem is when you harvest that honey off at 4th of July, or that's when right at the end of June.
Right.
You got to be, they're going to run out of food real quick. You're going to have to put either another super back on of some type of food, or put a feeder on them, put a bucket on them. Let's say give them a gallon of syrup to keep them from starving.
Now,
Right.
Rich, this being your first year, what I found on my first year and last year, if I put a new super on top of my deep, I didn't want to put that queen excluder in there to start with because the bees didn't want to go through that excluder just to go to a plastic foundation. It's like they had no reason to go up there. So I left the excluder out once they got up there and started drawing some comb out. Then I put the excluder in, and then they had a reason to go up there because they had comb, they had their smell, they knew they were already working that area. Now, I mean,
if you put a frame of brood up there, that'll draw them up there.
Yeah.
From that pheromone of that brood, and then that'll get them started.
Okay.
now once you put that queen excluder on, you want to make sure your queen is in that bottom box.
Okay. Dick burners, vertical zigzag checkerboarding, a lot of work, but more honey. Okay. I was reading Coon Lake.
Yeah, I've seen that. I just found with the single brood chamber, you are going to have to keep a closer eye on it because they are more likely to swarm on you because they're going to fill that single brood box up faster than they would a double.
So it's better to run like a single deep then.
I run a single deep, and then, like I said, I put that medium on without the queen excluder, let them start drawing the comb out, and then add my excluder in. After
So-
that, depending on the population and the nectar flow, if the flow's barely coming in, like I said, you may have to take some frames out, add to another hive, or do a split. If the nectar's coming in real strong,
Just keep stacking supers on, huh?
I'll keep on under the super.
All right.
Okay.
So here's a question. So if I want to get back to, let's say, I got a lot of doubles and triples, a couple triples in the yard. If I want to go back to single brood management, could I just take the top box off, and as long as it's got brood and everything in it, just take the whole top box off and put it on another bottom board and close them in, and that's a split? Be
As
done?
long as you got eggs or very young larvae in there, you'd basically be doing a walk-away split. They should draw a queen cell, or if you can get a mated queen, do you split, wait a day or two to make sure they're not drawing those cells? Because if they start drawing cells and you put a new queen in there, it's likely they can kill that new queen because they think they already making one for themselves.
So if they start drawing a queen, would you just go in and crush the queen cells then?
If
A couple
you're
days?
able to, if you have a mated queen available, I would put her in there. If not, if they're drawing one out and you're not in no rush, I'd let them just finish out their own queen cell.
So, in your guys' experience on a good heavy nectar flow, how long does it take for the bees to fill, say, a medium super?
If I got a heavy flow, I had one filled last year in about a week.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, they had it
Okay.
completely drawn out within a week, and then another half a week or so, it was full of
Capped.
nectar.
Now that was,
It wasn't capped yet. They had it full of nectar. I mean, they'll have
Okay.
to hydrate it down before they cap it.
but now you're saying they draw the wax and then filled it in a week or two?
They drew it out in about a week, and about a half a week, they had it full of nectar then.
Yeah, I mean, now if you got drawn comb in for your honey supers, 4 or 5, about 4 days, they might have, if it's really a super flow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if you see it happening like that, I'd have 2 honey supers on there at the same time.
Now, whenever our Chinese
2
tallow,
empties.
when our tallow starts coming in, it's heavy around here. We have tallow everywhere. And instead of making my splits, if that nectar flow is strong, I'm not worried about split. I'll just keep on adding the supers. And my number one hive, I ended up with 5 supers on it last year. And I pulled some good honey from it. Now, our privet right now, I look today, we're starting to get little buds on it, but it ain't nowhere near ready to bloom out. We probably got another 3 weeks or so till it really wants to bloom.
I was down by Houston yesterday, and I started seeing a lot of the blue bonnets popping out, and there's some other pinks and yellows I've seen out there. Nothing in full bloom yet, though, man.
Yeah.
And it's kind of starting to creep its way north. It looks like,
I know last year we had that heavy freeze in middle of February down here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that put our drone production a couple of weeks behind. In fact, my nukes was supposed to be here the end of March. They didn't get here until April the 29th. Because the drone, I mean, there wasn't enough to make the new queens. Now, this year, I'm supposed to have my new nukes the beginning of April. So we 3 weeks ahead. I should have done my splits 2 weeks ago, but I was working 7/12s and couldn't get to them. That's why I had swarm issues today.
So with doing single brood, it's you're going to manage your swarms a lot more.
You're
You're
gonna
going to
have
be
to-
out in your yard a lot.
Yeah, you're going to have to keep a closer eye on them.
I got a question for y'all. So, I typically keep a super on all year. That's the bees super for honey for winter. So that way I don't have to feed them. They feed themselves. And those frames, they're really old frames. I didn't make them. I bought the equipment. And whoever put them together did not put them together very well. So I'm thinking of doing new frames. Would you recommend taking, if they've got honey, and just doing comb honey?
How old's the wax?
Yeah.
There ain't no telling how old that wax is.
No.
Nah.
Now, I mean, when you do comb honey, what happens is you have to buy special wax, which is the wax sheet is extra thin. It does not have any wires in it.
Oh well, those don't have any wires in them.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that wax comb is real old.
This
Yeah,
is
you want it to be nice and pretty white if you're going to resell it. I mean, if you're
This is the wax comb I buy from Better Bee for my comb honey. It's really, really thin. And I mean, it's pure white, no wires. And I use the wedge top. You wedge it in there and they'll draw that out and you can cut straight through it with a knife, chew it, no problem. But if it's any old comb at all, even I would say anything over 4 or 5 months, I wouldn't use it for cut comb honey.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Tex.
and if it's ever had any brood in it at all.
Yeah.
However, what I've done, because I left my honey on late, I pulled my honey late, which ended up being great for sales. But knowing that there's a flow coming, you could remove those supers, spin the honey out, and give them the super back to refill back up.
I don't know if those frames will survive a extraction.
Oh, they're that bad?
Whoever put them together, didn't do them the way I would do them. So you go to pull it out, and the top comes off, but not the sides because they've propolized it.
Right.
And whoever put them, only put one screw, one nail, and that's not how I do them.
Huh.
They must not have used any glue or even two nails. It's just one nail holding the frame together.
Yeah,
I buy all my frames already assembled because what I could buy them for unassembled versus assembled, it ain't worth my time sitting there gluing and nailing everything. I mean, that's just my personal.
Well, and I went to plastic this year, so I didn't have to mess with it at all this year. I still got to put together.
I'd say 95% of mine's plastic. I got a couple that was just in there as the wired wax foundation. I think out of 3 yards, I got 3 just natural drawn foundations. That they
Well, I'll tell you what, the foundationless does come in handy for cutting out queen cells. So, you know, that works really well for that. But
I would, you know, as far as your honey box with that old frames and stuff in there, start putting in new foundation, new frames that you built that you know that's right.
Yeah.
And let them build, let them build that out for you. And
I'm just not sure what to do with the old, if it's got anything in it.
Recycle it out. And then, if you have a dearth in your area, that's just take it out there in a box someplace and let them have at it. They'll eat it out.
Yeah, let them rob it out.
And then take that comb and whatever and put it in your wax melter. And
we source it all back to the bees.
Feed it back to the bees as far as the honey goes.
Because I've got new supers, new frames that's what I pull from. I don't pull the old ones. I've just got those on there for the bees to overwinter with.
Yeah. Now, this question down here, you want to know how small would you split a colony if you still want good honey? I mean, that would depend on if you're doing single brood chamber, double deeps, or what. Myself, I would probably, depending on the time of year and where you live, your weather is going to change. But down here in Louisiana, I would pull 3 or 4 frames, almost split my hive in half if it's early enough, and they'll build back up quick and still get a good honey crop off of that. I got 8 new nukes last year. I had 1 hive that overwintered, and then I bought 8 nukes. So I started the season off with 9 total. And I finished the season with 24 hives and pulled 449 pounds of honey.
Wow.
And that's off of 1 overwintered hive and 8 nukes.
So if you're going to do if you're in double deeps and want to go back to single deeps, would you guys recommend doing, taking the top box off, shake all the bees back into the lower box, and then put the box back on and with an excluder, let the nurse bees come back up to the brood that's in the top box before you pulled it off?
Well, first thing is go through those 2 boxes and see what you got in frames. Equalize the 2 boxes out where, okay, we got the queen in the bottom and we have X amount of brood frames and food frames and pollen frames. And then both boxes are relatively equal in all those categories. And then, like you say, shake all the bees off if you can't find her and let those nurse bees come up to that top box to cover the brood. And then there's your split. You could either, if there's a queen cell available to buy or a mated queen, or if it's in the middle, if it's in the early part of the flow, let them make their own queen.
Yeah.
You're not going to get any honey out of that hive. It's going to make a queen. It'll take 30 days for that queen to get up and running.
Right.
But you've increased. I mean, that's the thing. You have to. Are we? It's like this year. Are we after making honey, or are we trying to make honey and do increase at the same time?
Right.
And all that. Now, if you do single brood chamber and you keep pulling them frames out, and let's say you've got a dozen hives, well, I won't say that you'll pull frames out of every one of them, but you might be able to pull out where you're making 2 nukes up, on that week or let's say 1, you'll pull enough brood frames out that you're going to make a nuke up, 5 frame nuke with the bees. from different colonies. They're not going to fight. If they do, there might be very little.
Right.
And if anything, pull them frames up, and you could actually, if you let's say, well, you're able enough to see where the queen is, stuff like that. So pull them out with the bees, put them in a 5-frame nuke. If you can drop a queen cell in there, that's great. Or take a frame of eggs. They're going to be, queen right larvae within 3 days. Put 1 frame of eggs in there. They'll jump on that, and they'll make a queen cell. And in 30 days, you'll have a whole new nuke with your own queen.
Right.
But I would pull their eggs out of that hive that you have. That's a nice hive, gentle hive, instead of a hive that's hot.
Right.
And do it that way. It just, you're equalizing your honey, making honey hives, but you're also able to make, propagate nukes and expand your bee operation. You won't make any honey out of them hives, but the goal of that for those hives is just to grow,
Right,
and get them through the wintertime.
If you make that split like that and you have a mated queen that's ready to go, you may get a small amount of honey that year. But if you're having to wait for them
probably not.
It wouldn't be much. But if you had to wait,
If anything, that honey would be their honey. I wouldn't even think about taking it out of there. I mean, it depends. I mean, some of you guys sound like that tallow flow. I don't have nothing like that where it's just gangbusters.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that we really don't have a broodless period down here.
yeah, we don't.
I mean,
they'll slow down a bit, but it's never completely broodless here.
All right, what's like in January? How cold does it get down in South Carolina?
Well, to give you an example, on December 31st, it was 78 degrees.
Well, I mean, up here in Maryland, it was in the 50s and 60s all the way through, like you say, December, which is very unusual for us.
Let me see if I can.
January got cold, where we were down in the 30s, freezing weather.
So it's like winter came kind of late for everybody too. Even Brian, he's getting snow up in Ohio right now. But
winter came. I mean, usually you're done beekeeping by October up here.
We had
it's cold.
In January, we probably had 5 or 6 days that got into the 20s at night. But usually most of the days it was low of 30, high of 60.
Yeah, that's about how we were. I think we had 2 or 3 days May I got in the upper 20s, and that was it.
So, I mean, there are short periods where she slowed down, but.
Well, what about, I mean, it's just like in Maryland. I won't say that we go 100% broodless. I think that there's always a very, it might be a brood pattern of about a quarter, the size of a quarter in diameter. Maybe she might be laying up a little bit of eggs, whatever they can cover. But what about the hours of daylight? That is a major key for bees, is how many hours of daylight.
Right.
Versus, wintertime, you have less hours of daylight versus summer.
Well, you saw, like, you watched the Demaray video. You saw the one frame, the deep frame that I took and put in the colony behind that had this much brood on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was pollen around that, and then the rest of the frame was capped honey. The whole thing was capped honey around it, and that was all new. I mean, they were just running out of room.
I was about to say they just wasn't giving her enough room to lay in.
So
they're packing in the what do you call it, the
pollen, the bee bread,
pollen and bee bread and all that.
Yeah,
I mean that's
if they start getting honey bound or nectar bound like that, you're just gonna have to pull that frame, put another drone cone in there, and hopefully it's right next to queen, and she'll jump on it, start laying it up, and you may have to extract that other frame, or if you got enough, stick that one in the freezer for a dearth if you need it.
Right.
I mean, a pollen frame, you can get pollen bound too. That's one thing that I stopped doing was I used to buy those, 50-pound bags of pollen powder.
Right. I got one right here.
Ultra Bee.
And I used to put it in a bucket, and you get out there in February, and the bees would go through a pound or more of that in a day or within a few days, and all. And what I found is that they'll pack it away, and we're gonna like they're gonna eat it and use it, and here comes the maple bloom, and here comes that natural pollen in, which is it's got more amino acids and different properties about it that they like, and they'll take that pollen sub powder or the pollen patties. They'll turn their nose up to it and go for the fresh stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And they won't do nothing with that stuff. And people talk, like Cayman will get on there talking about, the pollen frame. Well, yeah, that's okay. Kind of depends on what, around Maryland, we have tons of pollen.
Yeah.
And then there's other states, especially out west, that they'll have a pollen dearth and that kind of thing. And,
Like Texas.
I guess
Texas,
Yes.
it's all our trees are just barely starting to pop here, and it's from what I understand, we've been in a dearth for quite some time.
Right.
All of our pollen we've been getting in. We got a little bit off the maples, not a whole lot, but we've been getting the dandelions, which are a bunch of them's gone went to seed, and then we got the bitter weed. They'll pull a bunch off of. Now my number 2 yard, I have to watch them because the guy has. I'm figuring about a 1/4 acre area, 150 foot from my hives. That's blackberries. He has wild blackberries and cultivated blackberries.
Nice.
And they'll pull a lot of pollen off of that.
I bet he's real happy to have your yard right there too.
That, and he's got a big garden there too. That was the main reason he wanted bees over there to help his garden.
Yeah.
Watch them because they'll get pollen bound with all that blackberry pollen.
I had a friend of mine. She has blackberries or wine berries or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
And
Blueberries.
the berry would form, but it really didn't do much. And I told her, I said, well, I can bring a nuke down there. She asked me about pollination. I said, well, I don't normally do that, but I'll bring a nuke down there. I've done that for the last, I think, 3 years for the season, and a huge difference.
Yeah.
And now her berries, fill out, and they, she really gets a crop off of it.
That's good.
Making jellies and stuff.
To answer the Texas beekeepers question here, I've used the upper entrances. Let's see, pull it up here. I'll let you see. I used the Blythewoods Guardian entrance on my supers. Since I had the Queen excluder, I was thinking, hey, it'd be easier for them to go in here versus going down through all the way up through the excluder. They really didn't use it. They'd have a couple of guard bees sitting at the entrance, making sure nothing come in. But the bees didn't come in or out of it. They still used the regular entrance on the bottom board.
I've got some of those too, and I tried to use them on my nukes. Like some of my nukes have the solid, like attached bottom board on it.
That's
and I usually use those for like if I get a swarm, right? Because I'll take a migratory cover, shake the swarm in the nuke, put the migratory cover and duct tape that on, and I can close the dial on it. Yeah. But I figured I would try those because they're supposed to keep the beetles out. And, it seemed like it was confusing for the bees. First of all, they're red and bees can't see red. So I don't know if that's an issue for them or not. But
supposedly that's a feature.
A feature?
Lee, I got a question for you, Lee. How many honey supers do you typically leave on running single brood management?
As far as
for your bees to overwinter your bees.
Over winter, I'll try to leave one super on for them for the winter, and I'll
pull a deep super or medium.
Medium. All my supers I run medium. The only deep I have is the brood box itself.
Okay.
I have a bad back, so I don't want to be picking up on deep supers.
That's what I've been reading and listening to single brood management. I heard it's good for honey production, and but it's
Lee, do you
they
have
get swarmy real quick.
that
Yeah.
picture of that colony that you showed me that was like super tall the other day?
Oh, that little video that I pulled up the other day. Give me just a second while y'all.
And then you should show the clip of that swarm cutout you did.
Oh yeah. Oh, the 12-foot one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. All right, that was in 2021. That was on Pollen Trap. You're gonna have to give me just a minute. I'm gonna turn this down, or y'all gonna get blasted.
Spanky, how's your bees doing today, man?
Well, it's cold now. It's
Yeah.
It's in the 40s now, and the 2 days that I was thinking of going into them, it went from 70 to 50 at night to now they're looking at 70, 30s.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
nice.
kinda how it was here. But it was today it was nice out and they were flying, but it was kind of windy still the last few days. So I'm not getting in them when it's windy too much.
That's what I had to watch today. We had a little bit of wind.
I took and put that clip they talk about the red light technology in your comments.
Y'all check this clip out. This was one of your colonies, right?
Yeah, this is my number one colony that I can't find the blue queen in right now that I had to pull the double split out of yesterday.
Watch this. How many supers was that?
5.
5 supers on it. And they filled every bit of it.
Every bit of it. Well, I say every bit of it. They filled it pretty wide. The 2 outside frames didn't have a whole lot in it because I wasn't thinking at the time. Like I said, it's my first true year pulling honey. So I didn't take the outer frames out, open
And
it up.
rotate them in.
Yeah, put the frames to the inside.
Well,
We'll do that.
I've
this year.
actually cheated, right? So, like this past summer, I did pull a little bit of honey. So, like when they got one box filled up, I pulled it off and left them the empty.
Yeah.
And
Well,
left
what
them
I did,
again.
the 8 nukes that I bought last year, like I said, the apiary I buy my nukes from, you better hurry and get them in a 10-frame box or they're going to explode on you within a day. But all 8 nukes, they almost filled up 2 supers each. And I pulled 1 super from them and I left 1 super on them for the winter. Because they had honey in that super plus some down in the brood box also.
That's a lot of honey, man. I hope I can get one that tall.
And Lee, have you seen them burn through those honey stores in the winter?
Not too bad. I mean, we don't have no strong winter here in South Louisiana. We get a couple of cool days, but I depending on the weather, if I see them getting a little bit low, I might give them a little 2-to-1. Now, I did put a little winter patty on them this year, but they still had stores too. But I just want to make sure they got a little bit of protein, which winter patty don't have a whole lot of protein like the pollen sub would, because the more protein they get, the more they're going to want to brood up. So wintertime, especially if you're in a cold area, you don't want them to have very little protein. You start putting the protein to them, they're going to try to brood up. Then you're going to get a cold spell. It's going to kill all the brood. Then they have to try to pull that out. They're using more stores to feed that brood.
More energy resources.
Yeah, and then
Gotcha.
the brood's dying off, and it was just wasted resources they ran out of now.
Okay.
Okay, I just realized I went about an hour past the time I was planning.
Yeah,
Y'all keep on talking, doing what y'all
I'm
want.
good, man. It's almost midnight here.
I gotta get up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
It's almost
be good,
midnight
man.
here.
I'll see you
so I gotta go too. So, guys, we appreciate you. Thanks again. We always seem to have 10 or 11 hanging out at the end, and we appreciate every one of you staying.
Yeah, man, y'all are awesome. Appreciate you guys being here.
If
And
for
y'all-
some reason you're not subscribed to somebody in the stream, please do that for us. Go and subscribe to the channels.
Like that smash button.
Yep, this is a multi-stream, so you could
Smash
be
that like button.
You
Yep.
could be watching us from Kodiak Farms or from my channel, either one, and you'll get the notification. We will be live on Tuesday night for sure at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central. And, you know, who
Anybody's
knows?
welcome.
You never know what's going to happen. Last night, the Dirt Rooster popped in.
Yep. And then what was that? What day was that last week? Wednesday?
Ian,
Whenever Bruce come in?
and Bruce came in, and Ian was in the chat, Ian Stepler.
No, that was Tuesday night, last Tuesday night. Bruce come in.
So we never know who's going to be on. They just we open it up, and obviously this has been pretty much a standard cast. We missed the Hillbilly Beekeeper tonight, but
he was in the chat there for a little bit too.
yeah, he was in the chat, but it's his girl's birthday, so we understand. No, that was
that was
Houston's birthday. He was getting Earl was getting wife aggro or girlfriend aggro.
yeah.
Happens. Happy wife, happy life, man.
That's what I was about to say. Got to keep it happy. Do what we need.
All right, man. Y'all be good, gentlemen. It's good seeing you guys again tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna get off.
We'll
All
see
right.
y'all Tuesday.
Y'all have a good evening. Thank you.
All right, Spanky. Good night, Charlie. Good night.
Yeah, see y'all.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Good night.